Hi, I'm Dana. Welcome to this week's video chat. Today our question comes from Lydia, and she is wondering, how do I sleep train my baby when he has reflux? That's an awesome question. You know, I've been in this business now for 11 years, and every year I see more and more babies suffering from reflux. And I've got two thoughts around that. One is that I do think it's becoming a bit of a catchphrase for any sort of fussiness that we see in babies. I've had clients tell me that they went in and expressed a bit of concern around their child's fussiness and were given the diagnosis of reflux without any testing going on behind it. And I think that's a little concerning in some ways, that we're putting babies on a lot of medication that perhaps don't need to be on it. And also too, fussiness is often caused by tiredness, and the two really do go hand in hand. So I think the first question should always be, is your child getting adequate sleep? Are they napping at appropriate times? Are they napping long enough? Are they sleeping an appropriate amount of time through the night? And if the answers to those questions are no, then that would be my first step, is let's get the schedule in place, let's get this child sleeping well, and then we'll see if those symptoms of fussiness subside. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't legitimate cases of reflux. I am not saying that at all. It can be a very serious problem for some babies, and it really does often need medical intervention. So please, it's always worth investigating if you have any suspicion around that. Now, as far as sleep training a baby with reflux goes, there are a few things I want you to consider. Number one is to make sure you feel like the reflux is under control. Now, that might mean that the baby has outgrown it to the point where you don't notice the symptoms as much and they seem to be settling in and doing much better, or that they've been on medication for long enough that you can really evaluate whether or not you see some relief being provided in the medication. So it's very difficult to start sleep training a baby when they're right in the heat of reflux, because it's painful. It's painful to lie down on your back in bed, and they will often cry because of it, and the crying will aggravate the symptoms and the whole thing will just not work. So if you do feel like, yes, it's been a month or two, we see really great signs of improvement, he seems to be doing really well with it and managing it, then absolutely start sleep training. A couple of words of advice around that though is, I do find that most babies who have had reflux or have reflux have a harder time learning sleep skills. Not to say that it's impossible or that you shouldn't do it, just know that it's going to be more challenging, okay? And I think it might be that they just have some lingering memory that it's painful to lie in the crib, or that trying to sleep has some negative associations around it. And that could be why I find that the crying is a little more intense with babies who have reflux. So as long as you know that going in, then it won't surprise you when it occurs. And I find that it takes an extra week or two for these babies, whereas a baby without really starts to master their skills within a few nights, and by the end of week 1 is doing really, really well. Babies who have reflux, it's into week 2 before you start to see signs of improvement and success. Okay, so just keep that in mind. You might also want to have a little bit of an incline on your crib mattress. There are lots of cool things you can buy now that sort of help levitate the head a little bit more, so that it's not such a flat surface on the neck, so that the acid doesn't build. You can try that, absolutely. If you've been putting your baby in some other place, rock and plays are common for babies who have reflux, I would suggest that you start sleep training in the crib. The crib is where you want to end up long term. It is always better to start out where you plan to end up, so make the move all at once. All right, thanks so much for that question. Sleep well.